It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
Hello, folks. Welcome to Take It to the Max Sports. I'm Drew, along with my trusty sidekick, working the ones and twos. Brother Bob, what's going on, Bob?
Not much. Another Wednesday night, middle of the week, and we have a show going on.
Got a show. And, I figured it would be freezing in here. And I was going to wait and unveil this next week, but I said, well, Bob's probably got it at about minus 32 degrees, so I'll just break out my Buckeye regalia right now.
There you go.
What do you think?
Well, we'll see what the season does for you. I think you got to win in week one, but after that, I don't know.
It's Notre Dame. It'll be a test, a good test. So hopefully we'll win that. I saw where C.J. Stroud, he may be the one that, I don't know if he's the early favorite for the Heisman.
Yeah, I think he was plus 180 and Bryce Young is plus 400, something like that.
My money's with Bryce. I mean, I saw that kid last year. He's a stud. And they actually got a linebacker, Alabama, defensive guy. Did you see where his odds went down exponentially? Apparently, there's some early play on him to win the Heisman, which is unusual when you got a defensive guy.
No defensive guy is ever going to win the Heisman ever again.
Probably not, but we'll see. Hey, some happenings and goings on. When you were a kid, did you ever watch This Week in Baseball?
Oh, yeah.
With the iconic Mel Allen. That voice was just great. I mean, come 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, I was glued to that. So we've started a new segment, and I was worried when it first started that maybe we won't have material, or maybe there'll be a week when I can't do this, but it never fails. So without further ado, we did it last week. We've got This Week in Basebrawls. And if you can cue this one for me.
I think I can cue it up. Where did it go? Here we go. So this is in Wrigley Field, it looks like, Cubs fans.
I think we moved from the East-West Coast rivalry to the Wrigley Field.
Yeah, there we go.
Have you ever been to Wrigley?
I have not.
Oh, it's freaking cool. We got to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Guns back up for more.
He looks happy.
He looks happily drunk.
Oh, man.
So for those of you who didn't get to see it the first time, I don't know if you can re-cue that.
Oh, absolutely.
That was sweet. 1, 2.
Yeah, you can see that other guy's got a cut on above his eyebrow right up there.
So every week I go to a baseball game and a boxing match breaks out.
I don't know, man. The lack of civility in today's society, it just strikes me as sad. Yeah,
it is. It is kind of depressing, but you know what? This is an entertainment show, and you got to hold the fans' audience if anyone's watching. And who doesn't want to see a good brawl every now and then? I was thinking though, rate these on a scale of 1, 2, and 3. If you were in a fight and you needed backup, would you go for a baseball player, football player, or NBA player? And which order would you go in?
Oh, wow.
And NFL player, a basketball player, and then a baseball player, but pick the order that you'd want backup.
I actually don't think you've given me enough information to answer the question. Is my NFL player a skills player or a lineman?
Okay, so let's go with this. If you were to get in a fight with me, would you want a fan in the stands being a football fan, basketball fan, or baseball fan, and go in the order?
A football fan. They're crazier.
And who would be next?
Probably a baseball fan.
Okay, I would have said basketball, but the reason I say that is all the fights always break out in baseball.
I know.
Isn't it crazy? You don't really see a lot of in the stands football fights. Normally they're throwing shit on the field.
Well, yeah, if you're an Eagles fan,
or cheering guys laying paralyzed on the field. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, I just thought.
Yeah, that one's weird. Yeah.
It's always in baseball.
It is always in baseball. Though if you were going to give me a professional athlete to take on a fight, I'm going to go off the board and give me a hockey player.
Okay. But even having said that, you don't see you see the fans fighting the hockey players, but you never see the hockey fans fighting each other like you do in baseball.
That is true. That is true.
But I do like the hockey. They bring it to another level. They actually, I would say basketball and hockey are the two where the fans actually go at it with the teams. And that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Hey, another great one died last week. I didn't even realize he was a broadcaster also. Shame on me, but
yeah, Lenny Dawson
died at 87. I led the Chiefs to a Super Bowl. I think he played in two. He played in the original one, which was considered the era where the modern NFL kind of took hold against Green Bay and the great Vince Lombardi. And they got waxed pretty hard on that one. But, he started out as a backup with Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Really?
Kind of a journeyman backup. And then when he got to the Chiefs, that's where he kind of got on a roll and, secured his legacy.
Okay.
So, any thoughts on that?
Well, the one picture that everyone's bringing back up, it's definitely not politically correct anymore, but him smoking a cigarette during halftime.
That's freaking awesome. Will you ever see anything like that again?
No.
You might see a joint, but I don't think you'll see a cigarette.
No, but I didn't think I was going to see Antonio Brown stripping down half naked in the end zone either.
You still haven't gotten over that, have you?
No, I wasn't there a speculation of him coming to the Cowboys?
Everything's speculative with Jerry. I mean, he'll pick up who was the guy that murdered his girlfriend, the receiver 10 years ago?
Oh, Aaron Hernandez. No, not Aaron Hernandez. He murdered somebody else.
He murdered his pregnant girlfriend. I'm sure Jerry's got him on the radar when he gets out of prison, if he ever does.
Well, if you're good, you get a pass. And
speaking of good, I don't know if you can pull this up, and it really pisses me off because I'm 58. I got shot in the knees, can barely walk. Do you have the video of Terrell Owens?
Oh, yeah.
So Owens here, who's actually kind of put out some feelers saying, hey, I think I can still compete. And just to prove it, he took on a couple of guys that do play in the NFL.
Yeah, here we go.
And here he is on the inside of the track. It's freaking amazing.
I thought I was going to play.
And that's okay if it doesn't.
There it goes. Wow.
So he's going against kids half his age saying bye-bye and outrunning them. 48 years old.
Well, good for him.
I know, that's pretty cool.
Good for him.
I mean, I'm always in it for the old guys.
He's not going to play anywhere, but okay. Good for him. Good for him.
Hey, Jerry may call him up. Never say never.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Dak does need some weapons there in Dallas.
That's true. Well, you got that right. They're struggling right now. So we've talked baseball a little bit in the past, and we've always said that there would be one team from New York that we could count on to fall apart in August and September, but that's not the team from New York that's doing it this year.
I didn't think it'd be the Yankees.
Isn't that surprising?
That is very surprising. At one point, I think they're now tied with the Nationals in August for the worst record in baseball. At one point, they were behind them. And with all their talent and everything, it's just weird. Baseball is a 162 game season. You do get into slumps. Stuff happens. You don't know why. We're never going to know what happened They just got into a slump.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can dig themselves out of it.
Well, let's see if they can. But right now, their season.
I don't know if I would go that far.
They've lost 15 out of the last 19?
Oh, yeah. Their record is abysmal after the All-Star break.
But what do you think about Judge? He's
48 home runs. He's on pace to right around 61, 62.
If you had a gun to your head, that's probably a bad analogy, but if you had to choose between life and death, would you say he breaks it or doesn't break it?
No, there's too much. I remember, years ago before we had Bonds,
when I say break,
McGuire.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. When I say break it, break
Maris.
Maris's, right?
Yeah. Before we had Bonds, you in the 70s and 80s, you had these guys that were on tears, just absolute tears. You sit there in June and July and they're like, well, they're on pace to hit 65. And they all tail off at the end. It's a long season.
Very long season.
But Judge is a freak of nature. He's built and big and tall. Big,
tall, and not what you used to see from your daddy's baseball players size-wise. The guy could play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's, to my point of the Yankees aren't really going to fall off that bad. They're 8 games up on the Rays and 8.5 up on the Blue Jays. Yeah. Better record by far than the Cleveland Guardians, who are leading the Central, which is surprising. And then you have the Houston Astros at 79 and 45, so they're about 3 games ahead of the Yankees.
Where are the Dodgers at right now?
The Dodgers
just kicking everybody's ass.
85 and 37. They're 19 games ahead of the Padres.
Yeah, if they don't win the World Series this year. It seems like every year they go in as the favorite, they get in the World Series and shit the bed. But this year they are fully loaded.
They are fully loaded. So are the Mets. If you have a healthy DeGrom and a healthy Scherzer, that should give you 2 wins in any series.
Oh, most definitely.
And I think, the Dodgers are World Series or bust. I think all Dodgers front office and the Dodgers fans felt burned by last year with Scherzer going out.
Yeah. Well, it's changed a little bit, but basically when it comes down to the World Series, your pitchers are going to do what they got to do. The pitchers, it becomes a pitching defensive situation in World Series games. And if you're most of the time, the pitchers will show up. They'll do their part. At least they're starters. And so usually it just comes down to timely hitting and who's going to hit well.
It's fluky. It's fluky once you get into a best of 5, best of 7, weird stuff happens. I'm not all that happy that first round in the playoffs are going to be the best of 3. I like the one and done.
No, that was cool. It just, the money. It just, to the point sometimes they just take something that can be funner and ruin it because they're so, excuse me, Mom, so fucking greedy, man. And it's all about money.
I get it. Then put something ahead of that 3-game series, because I wonder, are the total ratings across 2 or 3 games, are they going to equal what they were in an elimination game? People always watch an elimination game.
You're right. And I don't want this to turn into the NBA where you've got 75% of the teams still playing in the playoffs,
I'm okay with that as long as we reduce the regular season from 162 to something more reasonable.
Well, they'll never do that. The TV revenue's too big. They don't care if there's fans in the stands. COVID proved that.
Yeah.
It's the ratings. Just going back right now, the Big Ten just signed a ridiculous deal with multi-billions, and everyone got a piece of the pie. Fox, CBS.
Yeah, and they left ESPN, and it's 1 point something, and it's going to come in right around what they were talking about when USC and UCLA announced their intention that the Big Ten are going to have $100 million per year per school for football.
Yeah, it's insane. I think at this point, within 5 years, your past SEC will be second fiddle. Now you may be like, you're crazy, but think about this. You're going to have regional games starting at 10 in the morning to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. You've got East Coast to West Coast and the Midwest.
But
and the SEC can't boast that.
But what are those games? Is it Ohio State, Minnesota?
It doesn't matter. If Rutgers is playing Ohio State, you've got a demographic. The demographics of that New York regional area are just insane. And so you've got, it's the viewership. It's the number of people in that region. And you've got New York, LA, Chicago.
I don't think, and here's my problem with college football. Every weekend you're going to have maybe one or two games that the casual non-alma mater, non-alumni fan cares about. I understand the argument about Rutgers in the New York market, but you have the Jets, you have the Giants, you have actual real NFL football to care about. The New Yorkers don't care about Rutgers. One, it's across the tunnel. They don't care about Jersey. They hate Jersey. So there's that. I don't know if you get as many eyeballs in an Ohio State Rutgers game.
I mean,
if it's a big game, people will watch, but I don't know if they're going to schedule that.
Well, they've already said that they plan on having Big Ten games running from 11 o'clock to the 3:30 schedule, and then wrapping it up with the West Coast games, either UCLA or USC.
Well, we'll see where it is, but
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Oregon and Colorado jump ship pretty soon and also join the Big Ten. And then you got a full wrap of the quality big market Pac-10 teams to fill in your night schedule.
I mean, I get it, but I just pulled up Ohio State's schedule for this year. First week, Notre Dame. That game will draw because Notre Dame always draws.
It'll be huge.
Week 2, Arkansas State. No one's going to watch that game.
Okay, but not to cut you off, but you're talking about, that doesn't mean the second week you've got Penn State playing USC.
Okay.
And then the third week you've got Michigan playing UCLA. Then the fourth week you got Ohio State playing Michigan. And then the fifth week you've got Ohio State and USC. And then the fifth week you got Penn State and UCLA.
Wow.
I mean, it just keeps coming in waves.
And looking forward on the Ohio State schedule, you got a pretty, if you're able to go through this and go through without a loss, it's a pretty stout schedule. Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Mississippi State, Penn State, even though Penn State is unranked right now, yeah. And then Michigan at the back end. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah, we're not playing Louisiana Tech, the first 4 or 5 games.
Well, you're playing Toledo in the third week.
If you look at the MAC, Toledo's always been a solid team. Now, they're going to get their asses kicked, but they'll probably win their, the MAC. So they're...
Yeah, we'll see.
But the point I'm trying to make is they're going to have the late game with, Alabama and LSU probably, but we can run coast to coast and no other conference can say that. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. And I don't see anything in the Pac-12 being of interest to the SEC bringing over.
No.
So if you're in Oregon, Utah, Washington, I don't think the SEC is where you land.
No, they'll go for the coast to coast. And now that they've written in these incredible television deals, look for some of these other Pac-10 teams to, and you may even have, I don't know what's left after Oklahoma and Texas. There's nothing the Big Ten really wants out of that division.
No.
Other than if you're looking at the basketball angle with Baylor, but I don't see it.
No, there's a few schools,
of their credentialing, and after Baylor, that's it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing about, the SEC versus the Big Ten, of who would be of interest to those conferences to bring in. If you're a school with a big research program,
yeah.
Now UT going to SEC kind of maybe is the exception to my rule, but
yeah, Baylor will move. They'll either go SEC, or Big Ten.
Okay,
I think they will. Going back to baseball, you talked about how tough it is when you're chasing a record to get there. What do you think about Albert Pujols, only 10 home runs away from joining that elusive 700 club?
Hey, it's a great story. It's a great story.
And he seems like a genuine good guy,
Yeah.
I've never really heard any bad press on him. And talk about a guy that just kind of quietly snuck up there. When they told me he was at 690, I was like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. So the 700 club, even though Jaylen Brown doesn't want us to talk about it as the Mount Rushmore, because those guys were bad, allegedly. But you talk about the 700 club.
I don't.
Were you queuing up a different sound?
I was queuing up my phone and actually hit the ship horn. My apologies.
But if he hits 700, that's 4.
Yeah.
It's Babe Ruth, Henry Aaron, Barry Bonds.
Well, 3.
Well, I am okay with Bonds being there as long as we all recognize everyone during that time had access to, whether or not they used, access to steroids, and they weren't testing for it. Just as long as we just acknowledge it. And he had a really big head one season to the next.
Yeah, and a really big body. If you could ever get a chance, pull up Barry Bonds, and I know we all get a little bigger as we age, but it's, when he started his career with Pittsburgh, he looked like Ken Griffey Jr., and when he ended it, he looked like Mark McGuire. I mean, the guy had just
bulked up, yeah.
And he would come to the plate and he would have so much armor on, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, if he got hit, it was like a mosquito bite would hurt more than if he got hit by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is. I wonder who's behind him. Is there anyone else chasing 700 behind him?
I don't know.
Are you kind of looking that up? So the PGA's decided to throw some mad money at their golfers. I guess in an attempt to compete or stave off the live dynamic, and they brought out their 2 heavy hitters, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods.
Yep.
And they're throwing some mad money at it. I didn't realize that Tiger and Rory have some kind of collaboration, where they're doing some kind of business collaboration, I guess, to promote this PGA.
I did not know about that, but I know those two are pretty tight. What I don't understand is exactly what this elevated event is supposed to be. Who gets to play? They're talking the top 50, top 30, top 70. And how that really benefits the journeyman, how that benefits the bottom, how that benefits the guy coming out of college.
Well, you can expand on that. I'm not sure if it does, and maybe Liv, like you said, is already picking that angle up. It does say that the top PGA Tour golfers have committed to play more events, 12 tournaments, to have purses between 15 to 20 million. And they do have some stipulations in here where they've made some commitments to some of the lower end players.
I mean, that's kind of what I want to see. I understand there was an argument that talks about, if you're in a team sport, if you're a basketball player or a football player, they're going to pay you for what they think you're going to be able to do for them. It's perspective. So they can pay, a Juan Soto a couple $100 million, a Deshaun Watson a couple $100 million.
Right.
When you're a PGA Tour professional, you have to perform week in, week out, and you have to grind for a few years before you're able to see those big dollars.
Well, here's something that I don't know if you're aware of, and I just saw this, and I'll read it to you. The PGA Tour also is launching an earnings assurance program for fully exempt members, which guarantees a league minimum of $500,000 per player. Players receiving that money must participate in 15 events, so that ensures they're not going to be running off to live. Rookies and returning members will receive the money at the start of the season. For non-exempt members, for those ranked between 126th and 150th, they'll receive cut point standings and below, and $5,000 for every missed cut.
Okay.
So basically, they're going to get that money at the beginning of the year, and they're making them commit to 15 tournaments. So that's, like I said, throw money at the problem, and they may solve the issue.
And I'm reading the Golf Digest article on this right now. I didn't realize there were this many. I thought it was much smaller. 215 to 220 golfers typically are fully exempt during a tour season. Mm-hmm. The $500,000 is a floor, and any earnings are going to count against that. If a player who is fully exempt falls short, the tour will make up the difference. The tour is only expected to pay about $2 to $3 million to implement this program, which is chicken feed.
Yeah.
Chicken feed.
Now,
but I think it's good.
Yeah, and Rory and Tiger have started what they call a new competition called the TGL, which will see 6 teams each consisting of 3 players playing in 15 Monday night events. Interesting.
Okay. This is kind of, I was talking with a few friends when the Tiger meeting was going down. This is kind of what I wanted to see. So hopefully this is good news for golf.
Damn, good news if you're a player. All of a sudden, these guys are not having to get their ass kicked and grind out these games, and probably going to be making as much as a lot of baseball players, minimum league baseball players.
Well, they should. I mean, I look at that, and you look at the NBA, the 220th player in the NBA is making a lot more than $500,000 a year.
But I will tell you this, I play golf, so there was an interest in golf watching it. But to people that don't play golf, how hard is it going to be to drum up interest in a Monday night, watching guys, play each other on a Monday night?
It depends on how it's packaged. Live Golf intrigues me with that team format, as well as the shotgun start, where everything it should be interesting from the start of the broadcast to the end of the broadcast. One of my problems with golf on a Sunday is you may be out while players are still walking the 15th, and you're like, I really don't care.
Yeah, they did fix that, and I like that concept. But we'll see how that goes. So, Bob, we did our sports trivia, and I kind of recognize myself as the Ken Jennings of sports trivia, but you knocked me off my perch.
Something like that.
You humbled me.
Something like that.
You made me repentant.
I only have 5 cards, so I'm fearful that we've asked these questions before, but I will.
But how did we lose all those?
I don't know. There's somewhere around here. There's a gremlin bouncing on
Here, grab
bombs.
a couple of these just in case.
Okay,
guys, play along if you're still watching. This is sports trivia. The first 1 to 3 wins. You can put your answers in the comment boxes and try to beat me and Brother Bob. He knocked me off my perch last week. So this time, to save time, we're going to pick the sport. Okay, so I'm going to do pro basketball, okay?
Okay.
A team is allowed how many timeouts in an overtime?
3.
Correct.
I'm going to make you talk about football.
All right.
Punt returner attempts to field a punt at the 12-yard line. He touches it there, but cannot get a hold on it. It ends up rolling out the back of the end zone. Where is the ball spotted?
He touched it.
On the 12, it rolls into the end zone and out the back.
And no one else touched it?
No one else touched it.
I think it would probably be at the point where he made contact.
Nah.
20-yard line.
20-yard line touchback.
I was going to say 20-yard line. That's my second guess. All right, you're up 1-0. How far is the free throw line to the backboard?
Oh, man. 15 feet?
Very good. I think someone's been looking at these cards when I'm not here.
Yeah, because they're the only things I have to read around here. Okay.
2-0.
We'll go back to basketball. We'll talk about free throws again. How much time are you allowed to shoot a free throw once you receive the ball?
I am going to say 15 seconds.
10 seconds.
Ah,
Wow.
that's not a lot of time.
This is epic.
I think there's been a lot of major violations of that one.
Maybe.
All right, I'm going to do baseball. For the win.
Okay.
Again, man, you're the new Ken Jennings. The bases are empty. The pitcher starts to deliver a pitch when the ball slips from his hand and falls to the ground. Is this a balk?
Yes.
No. If there were runners on base, it would have been. The bases were empty.
Okay.
I thought you were going to get me on that one. I really, really did.
In stroke play, John swings and misses
Stroke man.
Yeah, okay. In stroke play, John swings and misses a wrong ball that is in the fairway. Does he incur a penalty?
Absolutely.
How many?
Let's say it's 2-stroke.
You're absolutely right.
All right. Make my big comeback. Okay, keeping to golf. In stroke play, John lifted his ball on the green and inadvertently replaced it with another ball, so he had another ball in his pocket. Upon finishing the hole, he realizes his mistake. What, if any, penalty does he incur? So he's got 2 balls in his pocket. He replaces the wrong, he picks up one of the balls, clean it, but puts his other ball down.
It's stroke play. It's definitely a penalty. So he definitely incurs a penalty. I want to say it's 2 strokes. I'm going to say penalty 2 strokes, though I'm also thinking you out, you fired, go back to the parking lot, get in your car and leave.
It's a tough decision.
But I'm going to say penalty 2 strokes.
Son of a bitch.
I got it?
Penalty 2 strokes. That's 2 in a row. Good job.
What I remember about for that one, remember Goldfinger?
Yeah.
James Bond movie where he replaces the ball on the guy?
Yeah. Funny stuff. Well, I hope you all enjoyed tonight. We had a lot of fun. Hope you learned a little bit with golf trivia and all the fun stuff we talk about. Spotify, Apple Play. Listen to us on the radio. We're even better. And we look better on radio than we do in person. And we will see you next week, Bob. Anything?
Yeah. And the only other announcement is we are spinning up a website. So either next week or the week after, we'll have a website for you to go to drop comments, subscribe to the show, even just subscribe to an email drop when we drop new episodes.
Fantastic. Until then, guys, OH.
We